One career abortionist who's not backing away from the barbarity of what he does out in the open is Dr. Hearn, a founding member of that same said National Abortion Federation, and who just got a glowing write-up in The Atlantic about how things have changed for him in his almost 50-year career from the original Supreme Court decision on Roe until its overturning last year. Joining us now to discuss is a registered nurse who used to work for Dr. Hearn at his abortion clinic in Boulder, Colorado in the mid-1980s, until she became pro-life, she says, through the grace of God, marrying, having 3 children of her own, and then becoming part of Abby Johnson's ministry, and then there were none, helping abortion workers to leave the industry. I'm very honored to have Julie Wilkinson here today. Julie, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Great. So first, can you tell us what it was like working for Dr. Hearn and how you got involved in the abortion industry in the first place?
Well, the family I grew up in was very liberal. My parents donated money back in the day to Planned Parenthood and NARAL. So generally speaking, I grew up feeling like that was something that was not out of the ordinary. When I moved to Colorado as a young nurse, I moved to Boulder where an old nurse friend lived, and the only jobs in Denver were night shift, and I didn't want to drive in that far late at night. So basically I looked in the classifieds and found an ad for a family planning clinic. And that was in Boulder. And when I arrived there, I saw very quickly, because the sign is very bold on the front, Boulder Abortion Clinic. But unfortunately, that still did not dissuade me. And I ended up interviewing with Dr. Hearn and was hired. So yes, that was something that I wish I could have told you. I instinctively felt it was wrong, but at that stage of my life, I did not.
No, I completely understand. Many people have had the same experience as you, and so we're very happy, of course, and grateful, and thanks be to God that you've since come out the other end of this, a pro-life advocate. Can you talk to us about how that came about, how you were able to then leave said industry?
Well, I worked at Dr. Hearn's clinic for about 2.5 years. And I think, it's hard to pinpoint. There was no dramatic certain time I could pinpoint when I left, such as when Abby, witnessed an ultrasound. But I just generally felt the need to move on from there. And when I look back, I do remember that quite often my FM dial in my car would be on the station for Focus on the Family. At that time was Dr. Dobson's group, and he quite often would talk about pro-life issues. So I know that the Lord had planted that seed, and even unconsciously, I was starting to think about it more and more. So I decided I was done doing the clinic, and the next job I took, to show you that the Lord has a sense of humor, was it was called a perinatal float pool down at University of Colorado Hospital. And what that enclosed is with taking care of women who are in premature labor, or taking care of babies in level 1, 2, or 3 nursery, level 3 being the prematures. And every day I went to work, I didn't know which department I was in because I'd be in a float pool. And I found that I absolutely loved taking care of these very premature babies. So you can just imagine the conflict in my mind, consciously and subconsciously, as I embraced my new job.
Oh, that's amazing to watch that progression. And so in this Atlantic write-up about Dr. Hearn, he admits to, doing abortions on babies 22, 23, up to 30 weeks. And as he talks about it, usually what we hear from the pro-abortion side is that, every time this happens, there's some severe underlying issue. And yet he readily admits in the pages of that magazine saying oftentimes it's actually healthy moms, healthy babies. Sometimes it's sex selection. He had one mother who was late term with a daughter, pregnant with a daughter. She didn't want a daughter, so she goes to Dr. Hearn to get rid of her daughter. And again, that's the complete opposite of what we usually hear from the abortion lobby. So does that happen a lot more often than what we're told, that healthy moms, healthy babies, and these abortions still happen?